But one person who's emerging now, and if you go to Abosokan to buy spare parts because the roads are bad, you'll see a number of his posters there. He was a journalist. He was a deputy director of communications at the Jubilee House. And his name is Jefferson Sackey. You're welcome.
Umaru,
how are you?
Good to see you. I'm well. Yourself?
I'm okay. Anytime I interview journalists who transition into politics, I ask them, so me too, when will I join? Would you advise me to stay or I should come?
Well, if your vision and ambition is to lead, I think it is important that at a point in time, it also depends on whether it is a calling or not. I mean, if you look at a situation, you do journalism for quite some time, you realize that leadership is very important, obviously because of the stories we do. And we have a clearer view of both sides of the story. Like you're talking about Abosokan right now. I mean, I'm sure when you go there right now as a journalist, whatever you're going to see, you would be, envisioning, as a leader, how would you want those roads constructed and all those things. So I think that transitioning from journalism, into politics, I would always advise people, and I think there's a clear line, between the two. It is very easy to transition from journalism into politics, obviously, especially into parliament, because obviously you are going to represent your people. You are going to be the voice of the people that you've been reporting, stories from their constituencies and from their villages and, from their hamlets and all that. So it gives you a better understanding of situations on the ground and how to find ways and means of resolving them.
How do you deal with being accused of having been biased when you are doing the job? Because when you're doing the job, you don't bear any tag. But the moment you decide you're running on one party ticket or another, the suspicion is that, so all this while, this is what he was doing. How do you clean your image of that tag that would be put on you after the fact?
For me, I think I was quite lucky because when I started journalism in 2003, back in TV Africa, and the style of journalism...
You're old for this job inside. 2003, I was in GSS 3. Okay.
Yeah, my style of journalism was basically, traveling outside the shores of our country. Then Liberia, Sierra Leone was in the process of, ensuring that they have peace. And so traveling to those countries gave me a better view and idea of how, politics should run. Because in all those cases, it was politics that divided those nations. And so I would say that I found myself in a very, very good position to be able to have a very good exit plan. If tomorrow, for example, I want to transition then into mainstream politics, how I would want things done, what are really the needs of the people, what do the people see as important and not important? And I think those were the things that was able to help me in one way or the other. And so when I decided to do, politics, I don't think there was a sharp exit from journalism to politics for me.
Okay.
Because immediately I left Television Africa. I got an appointment as a public relations officer for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Obviously because of the stories that I was doing in all those countries.
This was what, Kufuor's time or?
Yes, this was President J. Kufuor's time.
Okay.
Then, Foreign Minister Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, now President of the Republic. Okay. And he found me, worthwhile to come and work in the ministry, obviously to be propagating the agenda of government's foreign policy and all that. And I was able to transition that into that. And so after many years of following him, and in 2008, 7 thereabout, when he decided to run on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party to be a presidential, candidate, I think I resigned from the foreign ministry and joined him on the political campaign trail, obviously to use my skill as a journalist to tell the story of the New Patriotic Party, because then, John Ejiokum Kufuor, the president, had achieved so much in terms of the National Health Insurance Scheme, the, free maternal health care, Metro Mass, the NHIS, the policies were quite, tremendous.
So you were wowed and you were wooed into. But the question would be, were you a politician before you went to work for Akufo-Addo, or he convinced you to become a politician, or he motivated you to become a politician?
I think it's a motivational thing. His style of politics was quite unique, for me. The way he speaks, the way he used to convince people as a foreign minister, his negotiating powers and skills. I was in one such, summit in Addis Ababa, the Sudanese crisis, the way he was able to woo the opposition to agree to a ceasefire and all that. It gave me some kind of, hope in politics, that if you study hard and if you are very diligent with your work and if you take your job seriously like he does, there is a way that you can succeed. And so, I'm not surprised that he was able to, achieve everything that he wanted to achieve as president.
I see. Did you grow up in a political home, or politics is something you learned and joined in school? How did your love for politics start?
I think my love for politics, it came naturally, obviously from many years of traveling.
So in your home, they are not political?
No. My home is not political at all. In fact, for my father, he was away for a while to Nigeria in the 1983s when, remember,
the hunger
crisis and all that. Yes, my mom was a very religious person. At a point in time, she became a single, parent, taking care of us. Reading the newspapers every morning and all those things, gave me a clearer idea that, I would want to be a journalist. And there were people who also motivated me along the way. But talk of political home, obviously not. It wasn't a home that was quite political.
I see.
It was actually the profession that, drew me into politics.
I see. Interesting. So Akufo-Addo then is your role model or mentor?
Yes, he
or something?
is my mentor in politics, and he still is. Obviously, because of his resilience and everything that he does, he's been able to instill in us being able to withstand, perseverance, let people say you can't do it. Stand on your feet, be strong, and know that if you are very, very committed and consistent with whatever you're doing, you are able to achieve whatever you want to achieve in life.
So what's your connection to Ablekuma Central, the constituency you're seeking to represent?
Well, I grew up in Ablekuma Central constituency. I lived in New Russia as a child. Back then, 7th grade Princess Academy is the school that I started my, preparatory school, class 1, class 2, class 3, and then I was moved to Race Memorial School in Dansoman. We lived in Matahiku Trotro Station, where my mother was a Fantike Nkesela, known as, Mame Fante, and then also to the Matahiku Mercy Clinic area. And then when I started work at TV Africa, I was actually living in Latebio Koshi Blacksmith area, where, you wake up in the morning, you go to TV Africa, you do your presentations and all that. Even when I was, working in the foreign ministry, that was where I was living. And this is where I've been all these years. And I've spent 30 years of my life, in Latebio Koshi. So this is where life began, and this is where life has brought me.
But I think by the constitution, you can contest in a constituency you currently live in or a constituency you hail from.
Yes.
Usually people look at the two and see which one is easier. You think where you are living now is easier to win than where you hail from?
Yes, obviously, yes. Because, I've lived all my life in Latebio Koshi, Mataiko, Blacksmith areas, and this is where I am known. Obviously, the only change was that, when government gives you a certain appointment, if your appointment, sometimes you are able to get a government bungalow. I was able to get a bungalow in Cantonment, and of course, so I transitioned between my Blacksmith residence in Latebio.
You ran away and left them there?
No, obviously not. It's easier. Looking at the president's schedule, sometimes his morning starts as early as 5:30,
so you have to be
6
closer.
a.m. You have to be closer and all that. But obviously, everything that you need to do in your constituency, these are the things that really.
So why do you want to go to Parliament for Ablekuma Central? Is it because you are afraid that you cannot break the 8, so you want to secure your job, or there's something in your heart that you think the people of Ablekuma Central would get if you represented them? What is the problem in Ablekuma Central you are seeking to cure? That's what I mean.
I think my constituency is one of the most important constituencies in the Greater Accra region. If you look at the voter population, you are looking at over 124,926 or so, voter population. It has some of the most important areas, electoral areas like Abosokai, where a constituency or an electoral area that has been very instrumental in, the economic development of the region. And so I think that the constituency needs a very strong voice in Parliament, someone who is able to advocate, their problems, be able to catch the eye of Parliament at any given point in time. If you look at the welfare of the people of Ablekuma Central, obviously majority of them, if you go to areas like, New Russia, Shukura and all that, engaged in petty trading and all. So I think it is important that we have a strong representation in Parliament, someone who will be able to, speak for them, stand for them, be able to negotiate well and good, so that at the end of the day, whatever is needed in those areas, they are able to get it. And what I'm doing now, or what I've been doing over the years, is all about their welfare. And that has been my commitment. Obviously, not because you want to break the fear of breaking the aid, or of course, that can never be, the case. But I strongly believe that at any given point in time, God finds a way of transitioning you, from one position to the other. And I see this new role, this new position as a calling to be able to use all the experiences that I've been able to gather in my life of journalism, serving at the office of the president, to be able to serve my people and my constituency. I see this new position, or this new role, or this new bold step as a way of paying back, to the people that raised me up. I mean, through them, I've been able to, go through the necessary education. God has lifted you to wherever He wants you to be. And I think it is important that I represent them and be the voice of the voiceless in Ablekuma Central.
So still, I just want to be sure, specific tangible problems that you can point to in Ablekuma Central and say, I have lived here for 30 years. I see that A is not good. A has been bad for all these years. B has been constantly a problem. C, and when I go into Parliament, or if I go to Parliament, I'm hoping to change these things. Do you have some tangibles you have?
Yes, one is the welfare of our people. A chunk of them, majority of them live in
welfare
poverty.
Means what?
Welfare, getting them, good access to good roads. A lot of the roads in Ablekuma Central, if you go into areas like Bochui, the New Russia areas, it looks very deplorable. Sometimes you go into those areas and you ask yourself whether you are really, really in Accra. I think over the past 4 years or so, I mean, we've not seen much development in Ablekuma Central constituency. Obviously, like you said, yes, we've held the seat for quite a while. Unfortunately, in the last election, we lost it to the National Democratic Congress. But I don't think the current member of parliament has been able to do much.
Yeah, but you're in government. It is ultimately your duty as government to fix our roads. You have declared year of roads twice. You should be the last person telling us that the roads in Shukura and Russia are bad.
The reality also is that you need a good representation in Parliament. Remember that
you need a government that has an eye view.
Everything that goes into Parliament obviously is approved by Parliament, of course. So if you don't have a member of Parliament who is able to advocate, when the Minister of Roads bring some key roads into Parliament, and you realize that your area, which is in very deplorable condition, is not in there, it means you are not a good advocate.
Or if you are a vindictive government that says, let's punish the people of Ablekuma Central for refusing to give us a seat. He's an NDC guy. Let him stay there. They will not send any road
check the records. I think a lot of the construction, you talk about gutters and all those things that were done in Ablekuma Central constituencies were all done in our time. When Okule Norte was a member of Parliament, when Ebenezer Nete was a member of Parliament. I mean, all these constructions were done during the time of our political party, of our political tradition. So it is a matter of having a good representation in Parliament. And I have a different view and a different idea of being a member of Parliament and relying on government to do everything. I mean, I think members of Parliament should find innovative ways, local and international, of bringing development to their people.
What innovative local and international way would Jeff deploy if he were elected MP for that area, where you will not go knocking at the door of the Minister of Roads?
I think the various, connections that I've built over the years as a journalist and also as a media person, God has been good, traveled around the world.
They come and build a road for you when they don't have a tool or anything?
No, it's not just about roads sometimes. It's about even educational, policies for your people, for the youth in your constituency to be able to travel outside, acquire the necessary knowledge and bring it back to your constituency. And so if you look at the policies that I'm putting together, one of them is being, connecting the youth of Ablekuma Central, internationally, getting them, the necessary scholarships that would be able or enable them to travel outside the country, acquire knowledge and come. Obviously international exchange programs here and there. I think these are some of the innovative ways that we can introduce. And I will tell you that if I look at my contemporaries who've transitioned from journalism into parliament, I think they've done quite well. I can mention Kojo Oppong Nkrumah, Suhini, and all those guys. It should tell you something that that transition is always a very good one. Being the voice of the people, being able to advocate for them, being creative and finding innovative ways on bringing development
So
to
roads,
people.
one of your major concerns. What other things do you identify in the constituency as being a problem that you want to fix?
The other thing is about health. Okay, you look into Ablekuma Central. Remember that it only became a municipal in 2019, in February 2019. A lot of development, has to happen, and we've started, a lot of things on the ground. Healthcare is also very important. One of the key things that I think I would want and advocate is that we are able to get real health institutions into Ablekuma Central that will help the people.
Do you have none now?
We have a few of them, but not in very, very, good condition, a lot of them being privately owned and all that. But I'm looking at, hospitals and clinics that will be able to, support the people in one way or the other. I think the First Lady, has done quite a number of donations to, a lot of these hospitals and clinics that we have around, but expanding it and making it quite, accessible to the people is very important to the people of Ablekuma Central.
Flooding in Mataiko, Kanishi, Abosokai, and other areas is someone's concern, someone who lives in your constituency. Says construction of roads and gutters have halted after Eben lost the seat. Youth unemployment is high in the constituency, and that... Okay, let me not read the last part. But these are the key things that the person has sent through. What would you say to that?
I think those are the things that I also hammered on. That, ever since, we lost the elections in Ablekuma Central, we've not seen much development in there.
You wanted to punish
the many developments that we are seeing in Ablekuma Central constituency are development that the New Patriotic Party, put up. And so it is about time that we are able to paint Ablekuma Central blue again.
Your man who led you into victory in that constituency still wants to run again, an NPP person.
That's
Why
correct.
do you want to remove him?
I think it is important. If you look at the statistics, it is important that we are able to, consolidate our gains, get a representation that the people would really, rally behind and, support. I can tell you confidently that we have a lot of, people not happy in areas like Abosokai, like Mataheko, and all those areas. I think that, interpersonal relations is very, very important in politics. Being able to, be somber and listen to the plight of the people. I think what we need now is a candidate who will be much more appealing, not only to members or supporters of the New Patriotic Party, but also somebody who will be appealing to the opposition, because elections in Ablekuma Central are always very close. And so if you have a candidate, for example, in the NDC, who is able to appeal, quite appealing to people in the NPP, they are able to get, quite a number of, your people voting for them. And so you need a candidate who would be appealing more to, apart from your political tradition, appealing to the NDC and all that. And I can tell you that, yes, I hold those qualities. I've been able to listen to the people.
Talking about listening to the
down to the people and then doing what they
Talking
do.
about listening to them, what's the ethnic makeup of your constituency?
It's quite predominantly, if you study quite well, you realize that Akans are quite a lot, in the elections itself. But we have a mixture, of people, about 23 settlements in Ablekuma Central constituencies. If you go into the Shukura area, for example, a chunk of them from the northern part of the country. If you come to Matahiko areas, it is made up of Moakans, Adjembu, Moakans, Latebiokoshi, a mixture. And of course, Latebiokoshi, because it's very close to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, right? So you are able to
So
get
there's
a mixture.
Ga, there's
Of course,
Hausa,
and obviously
there's
Ga,
Tree.
Hausa, Tree.
You speak all these languages?
I speak Ga very fluently. I speak Tree very fluently. I'm traditionally a Fanti and all that.
So you speak, you're Fanti.
So those are the
Someone has sent a message. Where's that message? It says, ask Jeff why he doesn't have NPP printed on his posters. That's a message from Siemens.
Which of the posters? NPP is all over my posters.
Oh,
I don't
really?
know which one I'm
talking about your posters.
I think I had an information that the volunteers of Abosokai have done some posters for me, and they've posted it all over in Ablekuma Central constituency. And I think I got hint of this particular, information, and they told me that obviously they did those ones when, campaigning hadn't started, so they were quite
They didn't want
careful
you to
not
be
to.
caught.
Yes.
Where's the
caught in
money
law.
from? Because your posters are plenty and big in the constituency. Where did you get the money from? We gave you
so
a
far,
job as deputy. You were working at
I
Jubilee just a few years ago.
I think so far I've not done posters myself.
Seriously?
So far, yes.
So the posters there are by who?
No, volunteers of Abosokai. Who
Identify people we can find?
Oh, of course. The
If
secretary,
OSP says,
the chairperson, and all that.
If the OSP says, I want you to show me proof that this boy, and they can show us that.
Yes, and funny enough, I mean, they bought my first, form, for me yesterday, from the party office in order to be able to contest, on the ticket of the NPP.
So far,
yesterday.
how much money have you spent in the campaign?
Myself, I think I'm yet to start spending.
Okay.
What I've done so far is be able to, get to the people, look into their welfare. There are quite a number of policies that I've put in place. The most important that I identify the welfare of the people. Within our political tradition, I think that apathy played a key role, us losing the 2020 elections. I went on the ground and realized that the welfare of our people is not very, very, in a very, very, stable condition. And so I instituted the welfare support program, where in each and every electoral area, there are 7 electoral areas in Ablekuma Central constituencies, I was able to commit some funding that become, basic, funding so that in a political party, sometimes you have contributions that you pay every month, 10 cedis, 5 cedis, something that can be a top-up for the people and all that.
When the land around the Odo in your constituency was cleared, we were told that, and I'm referring to the Agbogbloshie area, we were told it's going to be one of the Agenda 111 projects. I've been driving past there. I've not seen even foundation being dug.
I think it's still being worked on. The Agenda 111 project is all over the country. I think about 2-3 weeks ago, the Ministry of Information came out with, clear, evidence of a lot of the constructions that are ongoing. So obviously it is a process. It has started somewhere. It's obviously going to get to the Agbogbloshie
You are from
you
are from Abosokai area. You are from Ablekuma Central. The people of Abosokai, they import a lot of spare parts. The importation of the spare parts is dependent on how the CD is doing.
Yeah.
They have suffered because of Akufo-Addo government's failures in handling the dollar. You work closely with Akufo-Addo. In fact, your door is next to his door. You work on the same building, Jubilee House, for all these years. How are you going to explain to the people that they should allow you represent them when the dollar is beating the CD in their pocket and making things difficult? When you brought your first budget, you said Asempa budget. You told the people that you've cut off taxes and all of that. Now they are crying.
Remember, I mean, our country, Ghana, is not the only nation that is going through this. All over the world it is happening. In South Africa, if you clearly remember, just a few weeks ago, light out all over the place. The dollar is in that same position as the cedi.
That's what you would tell
them. That struggle. No, but I think the people of Abosokai, interestingly, quite a number of them are pretty much aware of the global economic crisis that is happening right now. And so if you remember, these are the same people who always vote for our tradition, right? The most important thing is that our party, our government has been able to do quite a number of things, for the people of Abosokai, and they will testify to it. What it is important for us as a government and as a people is that we are able to propagate this information quite clearly for them, that they are able to see the many, many things and interventions that government is putting in place to ensure that the city, comes back to normal. And of course,
You use the word
what has been
propagate. Are
done.
you sure you can really communicate your way into this election? You are a
course.
communications person and
Yeah.
you are deputy communications director. You are sure
Very
that you
sure.
have any message to communicate at all? You are not shy to talk to Ghanaians?
No, not at all.
Really?
Because Ghanaians are pretty much aware of the many, many
Messes you've created.
developmental, no, never messes. How do you term messes? Do you term the
plenty. You've
implementation
taken
of the
their
free
money.
senior high school, the
You're
implementation
giving them
of the
haircuts.
many, road constructions that you are seeing in this country? I don't know of any government that has constructed roads like this government has done. I don't know of any.
I also don't know of
from
any
time
government that has
immemorial.
taken people's money in the banks that they are going to keep safely.
And I don't know of any government that went through the terrible global economic crisis that we're seeing now.
So many governments are above water. Yours is you and the submarine. They are doing your own things.
Never. I think we're doing the best we can. What I can assure you, as somebody who is able to see the projection that government is doing and putting in place, it is a projection of hope. Within the next few months, everything is just going to come back to normal.
Okay.
And I'm very confident. You have a president who doesn't sleep, who is on the neck of his ministers, ensuring that everything is put in place and put in its right place. Things are just going to be okay.
All right.
It's just a
We
matter
pray
of time.
so.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jefferson Sackey, NPP Parliamentary candidate hopeful, Ablekuma Central, a journalist who was running into politics. Thank you for joining us for Point Blank.
Umaru, thanks for having me.